This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hour 2 of Money Moves coming your way live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino, alongside Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Bonatoni, producer Justin Emery at the controls today. Still to come this hour, we will break down the top team in the country as our Money Moves College Football Top 25 comes to a close. We'll also give our predictions as to how we are projecting the 12-team college football playoff to look by the time the season is over. We'll also continue to look at today's MLB slate ahead of Monday's trade deadline. But first, we are going camping from the DMV to where could we be headed today? Roll it.
Join Stormy and JVT as they go on the Money Moves NFL training camp tour.
All right, out to Philly we go. The Eagles entering 2026 after an offseason of significant change. JVT, especially on offense, gone is A.J. Brown, but they do bring in Mekhi Lemon in the draft, and in steps new offensive coordinator Sean Mannion. And this is where I want to start our conversation on offense, especially after hearing left tackle Jordan Mailata. He had this to say about his new OC in the 215.
I think when we're being taught the scheme, just the explanation of how the defense is going to see it and what the plan is in those meetings you just see like, oh wow, that's actually pretty smart. What did I think about that? But you don't think about it because you're an offensive lineman. So it's when you get to come out here, you run the plays, and you may not like understand it at the time, and then when you go through the meetings. And he breaks down everything. Like there's a purpose to everything in the play, and then you see it unfold, and you see the defense like kind of confused. Like, okay, who's covering who now in this motion? There's a lot more to it than I guess I thought an offensive coordinator can bring to the table. And yeah, I've just been blown away by that evil genius.
So we all know at this point, JVT, that Kevin Petula was not good for what this offense needed, and the lack of creativity at times was astounding. But to hear the glowing words like that from Jordan Mailata, and I've seen some comments from other players as well around the offense, Sean Mannion seems to be the dude. Now, can it translate to game day?
Yeah, I mean, and he's got a lot on his shoulders, seemingly, because they are putting a lot of weight on it. Whether it's Mailata's words, just hearing reports out of Philadelphia, how excited people are, knowing what the failures of this offense were a season ago. Last year finished 16th in expected points added per play. They were 22nd in success rate. So that shows you a penchant for not being good down to down, not getting the percentage of yards you need on any given down, and having a somewhat of a reliance on getting explosive and chunk plays. That's not a way to generate any sort of offense. The other thing, too, is getting a little bit more, I think, out of Jalen Hurts is probably the objective here. And I do, I think, take umbrage to an extent with the way Hurts is presented sometimes. My man's been to multiple Super Bowls. He's won one. He's a pretty good quarterback. But I also think that it is fair to talk about where he is in terms of how he can throw the ball around the field. Does struggle sometimes of finding the middle of the field, relying on throwing outside. So maybe you can get some of those easy throws unlocked a little bit more with Hurts and get the offense going a little bit more. And I think those are the things you're looking for to really unlock this team and to maybe bring to fruition the words of Tom Byrne, SiriusXM radio host, who was with us last week, talked about them being slept on somewhat. Yeah. A lot of it has to do, I think, with this offense.
So the expectation under Mannion is that you'll get a little bit more deception, some more pre-snap motions, more play from under center. Last year, Philly was 29th in the NFL in pre-snap motion, 27th in plays from under center, so they were always in shotgun. They didn't use the screen game hardly at all. The way that Mannion, I think, wants to run this offense should set up really nicely for both Hurts and Saquon Barkley and getting him back to where he was a couple years ago when they won the Super Bowl and he was the best player in all of football that year. So I think, rightfully so, or maybe not, I don't know, the expectations on this offense are that they could be really good and far exceed the way that some of the odds board even sees them. The win total this year set at 10.5. The division, they are the shortest shot. They're the favorites here to three-peat after being repeat champs for the first time in like 20 years, 20 plus years. So can they do it again? Your point on Hurts, though, this is his 11th different offensive coordinator going back to his college days. He has had a different face or play caller every single year in his year, with the exception of, I believe, Shane Steichen, right? Like, that was a repeat year, but other than that, that was all.
Yeah, I was listening to, I think it was Mina Kimes who was talking about this on her podcast, but they brought up a great point, whoever she was with from The Athletic. They talked about, and look, it's a small sample data point, whatever, but the only other time that they have brought in an offensive coordinator from outside of the building, was Kellen Moore. And they won a Super Bowl that year, and then Moore went on to get a job. So you do wonder if bringing in another offensive mind from outside of the building who's not just going to say the same things and drill home the same points, it is kind of crappy to have another offensive coordinator, but maybe it's actually kind of good to get somebody from outside of the building and a fresh perspective. The one time they did it, it was Kellen Moore, and it worked, and maybe this is going to be something that works really well, because this is also, you got to remember, too, this is an offense in that like LaFleur / like Shanahan kind of giant tree that has now become most of the NFL offenses, it would seem, that do have a pretty high floor and have a long track record of success of getting the most out of its running game and its quarterbacks that have been in it. So
all of this to present, do you think 28-1 is too long for Jalen Hurts at MVP if this team really does get themselves back in the contender situation and he has an OC that sets him up for success, or would you rather look elsewhere?
I think in theory, if I'm getting 28-1 on a quarterback in the National Football League of a team that could win like 12 games, it sounds like it's too much. My worry, it goes back to what we were talking about with Hurts. Is he respected enough that if this offense turns around, will he get the credit that he deserves to win Most Valuable Player? That's got to be part of it. I mean, especially if, and it's funny how we're talking about Barkley, we act like 1,200 yards and 4.5 yards per carry is like this awful season, but it was in comparison to what he did a season ago. But what if Barkley is a little bit closer to like that 1,400-yard rushing range and is a little bit more explosive this year, and they find that? I think that's probably going to be something that takes away from it. I think I would agree with the original premise. Again, starting quarterback of one of the better teams in the NFC, yeah, I think that makes sense that you would want to play that. I just worry that if he does, have the respect of those that are deciding what the award is going to be.
From an award standpoint for this team, if there was one that I thought that there could be a winner in more so than others, I would say Mekhi Lemon for Offensive Rookie of the Year. When we were talking about this a little bit earlier in the week, just the thought process, right, that Devonta Smith is going to get the double teams now with A.J. Brown gone. You're automatically going to step up and like be that next option. And God forbid if Smith misses any time, you're going to get even more targets and the football coming your way. So that was something that I would say, considering in terms of some of those double-digit guys that you can get in for Offensive Rookie of the Year, especially with it not being a big quarterback season, that could be an interesting name to look at.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know if would you say anything to like Sirianni for Coach of the Year at 75-1, if that's the actual price? Or, because I know this is a market we talked a little bit about last year, once it starts to populate, if we're making so much about this once these odds get posted, I would love to see what a number on Sean Mannion to win Assistant Coach of the Year would be. Right, we talked a lot about this. Like last year, remember Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts, they got out to that start, went from like 150-1, maybe even longer, to really short odds. I think Manibi at one point became the favorite. We had talked a lot about Brian Flores potentially winning that award as well. But I think that, to me, again, it's not a normal market. We'll get those odds posted at some point if they're not already. That, to me, is going to be a really interesting market, because if Mannion's everything you expect him to be, that could be one to definitely look at, as long as it's not like 2-1 at the beginning of the season.
Do you think the defense, regardless of what happens offensively, should carry them again? Obviously, Jalen Carter signs the big deal. The one injury to be aware of right now definitely is Jonathan Grenard on PUP with a pec injury. And it was interesting because we heard their GM come out immediately after the injury and say this isn't going to be long term. And then Vic Fangio yesterday said he's going to miss a good bit of camp, and I'm not sure about week one whether or not he's going to be available. So take that into consideration, at least early in the season. Yeah, I think, though, when you hear not long-term, you're expecting not going in late into the regular season. So it sounds like both things can be true, right? Like, as long as you're back by week 2 or 3, a defensive coordinator probably views that as long-term because you want him in camp. But generally, having him available for a vast majority of the regular season sounds like it's going to be that case. I think so, yeah. Like the way that I've liked the most about the way this team's been presented in the media is we kind of know a lot about this team for the most part, and so we know what the baseline is going to be. And I think the baseline for Philly is going to be one of the better defenses in the National Football League. Where they fall on that spectrum, whether it's going to be 8, 9, 10, whatever it is. I feel somewhat confident that you're going to be in that range of where you were last year. They were 8th in expected points added per play by opponents. They were a little bit farther out if you look at success rate, but still finished 10th there. So I expect that they're going to be floating around that 10 mark. Whether they're closer to 5 or to like 12, I think is a question, but I think that you're pretty confident that you have a very competent unit right now. So we expect the defense to be good. The offense should, at least the way that we're talking about it, should take a pretty big step as well under their new offensive coordinator. And their schedule is the easiest in the division as well. The easiest in the entire league at this point. Any other betting angles you think could be worth taking a look at on Philly to exceed expectations in the market?
No, I think it's just what we've talked about. I want to look at some of these awards and some of these other angles for them outside of, because as somebody who is, I don't think you share the exact high level of optimism that I have for the Dallas Cowboys, but as somebody who personally thinks
Their
the Dallas
defense is
Cowboys,
just a problem.
Sure, but for me personally, I kind of balk at going like over 10.5 plus 115 with some of the things that might pop up on the schedule. The fact that you play the Cowboys twice, the fact that I think the Cowboys can win this division, I think that there's probably more of a reality where you get to 11 wins, but I wouldn't want to play a plus 115, and I think that they're probably priced right around where they are. That most of these outcomes we're talking about like 10.2 wins every single time out for this year.
You know what is kind of funny? I view the Cowboys and the Bengals as very similar, right? You have MVP caliber quarterback play, really strong offenses. You always have to kind of outscore whatever your defense does on the other side. And yet I'm so much higher on Cincinnati than I am on Dallas, when I probably should view Dallas a little bit more optimism perhaps than I have. That said, as we're talking all things NFL, like this is the time of year you want to get all of your prep into, I mean, whether it's for your fantasy leagues or for your preseason futures bets, or even just to dial up some calendar reminders for yourself throughout the course of the regular season. You need to be a VSiN Pro subscriber because our NFL betting guide is unlike anything else that we do, and it is as comprehensive as it gets, over 100 pages. If you go over to vsin.com/subscribe now, our football special is almost over. I think there's only 2 days left, or maybe it's tomorrow? Yeah, $175 now through the Super Bowl. Yeah, we're going from $175 to $199 tomorrow.
Don't make it a problem. Just go sign up. Go to vsin.com/subscribe.
Boom. That's all you got to do.
It's payday, folks. Let's go.
It is Friday. We love it on a football Friday. Okay, we got to step aside here on Money Moves, but plenty more still to come when we return, including, God, my voice is killing me right now. Killing me. Including our #1 team reveal in the college football top 25. We told you who 2 and 3 was yesterday. Who could #1 possibly be? We'll break it all down next.
Tulane. So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is the Money Moves College Football Top 25 Rankings.
Yeah, it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back into Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you today. The final day of our Money Moves College Football Top 25 reveal, the top-ranked team in the country, according to the two of us at the desk.
The Florida Atlantic Gals, baby, coming in at #1. Got a lot of returning production, a lot of upset on offense. Hard schedule in the American, but I think they can really get some stuff done.
That was sarcasm.
CFP.
That was sarcasm, ladies and gentlemen. It is. Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Let's go.
Your favorite team.
They are my favorite team. And I do want to put this out there.
And much like you and Tim Murray, many, many years spent on campus going to school there.
I do want to put this out there. You can't, fandom is fandom, okay? So let's not be a hater for one. My parents,
it's always this. It's always my parents' brother-in-law's dominatrix cousin all went there.
No. It's not about anyone going there. Like, my dad rooted for Notre Dame my entire life, and my dad's fandom was thrust upon me in my youth. That's why I'm a 49ers fan. That's why I'm a Notre Dame fan. He was a huge Joe Montana guy. So that is how my fandom was created. I can't help it.
This is why you need to be better at these sort of things. Your immediate rebuttal to me should be, you've never been inside the state of Indianapolis, you loser, and you're a Colts fan. Shut your mouth.
I didn't know you've never been to Indiana.
You've never been there before?
What?
Are you serious? Why would I ever step foot into that state?
Okay, yeah, that's embarrassing. You should work on that.
You should work on your trash talk.
I, however, meanwhile, have covered 2 Notre Dame football games now, okay? So feeling pretty good.
Were you unbiased?
Of course I was. Of course I was.
Run the tape.
I did also have to do a very uncomfortable halftime interview with Marcus Freeman after a missed field goal, which made me very uncomfortable.
Was that the last BC?
It was
a BC game? Yes, last year.
Yeah.
They didn't play particularly well in that first half.
It was not a great first half. No, it was not. But then Jeremiah Love did Jeremiah Love things, and it was off from there. Speaking of which, he gone. Both he and Jadarian Price taken in the first round of this year's NFL draft, which accounted for, if I have this up correctly, 44% of the team's all-purpose yards and 51% of its touchdowns last season. So there is a lot to make up, obviously, with Notre Dame, but this is one of those programs that very similarly, when we talk about some of these other big name programs across the country, you don't rebuild, you reload type of a thing. And also they are stacked on defense, bringing back a ton of talent. And they still got a ton of talent on offense that they're returning as well, including for the first time in what feels like forever, having your starting quarterback back for a second straight year in CJ Carr, who is your Heisman favorite at most shops.
Yes, he is. And I think you feel pretty excited about this. And one of the things that really does work for CJ Carr as the season went along was he seemed to get better for the most part. You know, one of the things I like to bring up is if you're taking care of the football at the beginning of the year, that was not the case. But at the end of the season, really did a much better job when you're talking about turnover-worthy plays and making sure he took care of it. So I think when you look at this for CJ Carr and Notre Dame, everything is pointing up. Now, a lot of it has to do with him and what that's going to be, but I think the signs were there with this offense that you have a quarterback that you can really lean on here and maybe even open up the offense a little bit more, especially with the departure at running back. Maybe you think that you're going to see, it's not like they're a mundane and vanilla offense, but maybe you do see them lean on Carr just a bit more this season when you ask this offense to maybe get a bit more explosive as you're talking about running it through him as opposed to the ground game.
And, I mean, he was thrown into the fire at the beginning of last season. If you remember those two early season losses to Miami and Texas A&M by just a combined 4 points also, which, as we look down the end of the season, is what ultimately held them out of the college football playoff. Kind of crazy how all of that played out. But looking ahead to this year, he finished the season so strong, and he just got better and better as the year went on. 5th best player passer efficiency rating in the country last year, 67% completions, 24 touchdowns to 6 picks. He brings his entire offensive line back. In terms of wide receiver production, yes, Malachi Fields is in the NFL, but former walk-on turned leading receiver Jordan Faison is back. You bring in Quincy Porter from Ohio State. And quite frankly, the running back room, without Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, you might think, okay, what are they going to have here? But Aeneas Williams, who's expected to be the feature back, he was a really highly touted guy out of high school. He didn't get much playing time the last 2 years just because of the talent that you have in that room at that point. Redshirt freshman Nolan James Jr., he's kind of more of like a bruising, lower to the ground back, but somebody who's pretty good. And Kedron Young as well, missed last season with injury, but he's a former 4-star. Yeah. So I think that offensively they're going to be fine, and they have a defense that the last 9 weeks of the season was the best in the country and are bringing a ton of them back. Yeah,
I think if you're picking nits, one of the things that you want to see from Notre Dame, they were just over average when you look at percentile when it comes to explosive play rate allowed, both through the air and on the ground. And again, they were still above average, but much closer to that 50th percentile mark than you were in the top 90. So that's something I think that if you want to improve defensively, maybe you can get that a little bit honed in a little bit more instead of giving up some of those big plays that maybe you had a penchant for giving up more often than not than you would say the elite contemporaries that you're talking about here. But I think this team they deserve to be the number one team in our power rankings. Obviously, we have put it this way, but I'm not surprised that there are many who would look at them and think, yeah, we're getting back to the playoff potentially. Winning this whole thing is certainly within the many simulations of a season for the Fighting Irish. And I got to say that the schedule works out relatively nicely for them, too. Now, there are a couple of slip-up spots, mainly the road game against BYU, the home game against Miami. But should you be able to take care of business, you just got to split one of those, one would assume. And even if you, like, that's my question is, God forbid you lose both. Does a 2-loss Notre Dame with the 2 losses being the only real pelts you could have potentially put on your wall for the season? I guess you'll have a win versus SMU in this scenario that we're talking about, but where does that put them in the grand scheme of things if everything else plays out, right?
Wouldn't it feel eerily similar to last year from that sense, though? Mm-hmm. In which case, they now have the benefit of the doubt with the college football playoff that if they are ranked 12 or higher, they are automatically going to be in the field versus last year where you could have one of those outsiders come in and leapfrog you.
Yeah. So it feels like
that's worth noting. That is a wrinkle this year that has been changed in the memorandum of understanding for the college football playoff, that Notre Dame, no matter what, if they're ranked in the top 12, they're in.
Yeah. Which, too, by the way, I know this is like somewhat of a side note, but why would they ever join a conference? Like, they're getting stuff like that.
Oh, for
like,
sure. Absolutely.
Why would they ever?
It's laughable that people are like, oh, come on, just join the ACC already. No, they're not going to do that.
So we should be fair and include SMU in those 3 potential trip-up spots for the Irish. But, I mean, the schedule overall at the beginning of the season, Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Stanford, you're going to be really – and that's the other part I wonder, like, so from a week-by-week standpoint, if you go back to the beginning weeks and, like, the Jim Harbaugh era, especially at Michigan – remember where they would play those games in non-conference and they would show nothing. And they would just sit there and just line up in these boring vanilla offenses and they would beat you like 20 to 30 to nothing, but it would be just a slow grind. And you wonder how much you're really going to see from this offense and just in general what you want to put on paper. Because it looks like the beginning portion of the schedule is storming me, right? I mean, outside of potentially Wisconsin at the beginning of the year, and I say that just because you're relatively high on them, there's a lot of positive signs for Wisconsin. But this seems like a schedule that you're going to be able to romp through before you get to that road game. I shouldn't say the first road game, but that road game against BYU on October 17th.
I think Wisconsin's going to be better. They're not going blow for blow with Notre Dame. That is a neutral field game, by the way, out at Lambeau Field. Yeah. So kind of a cool season opener,
as we call them in college basketball, right? Yeah, semi-neutral.
Looking ahead, though, we teased earlier that we put together our eventual end of season college football playoff 12-team prediction of our own. Both of us have Notre Dame going into that final rankings as the top team in the country. Where else did you end up going for your bracket?
Okay, so my top 4 seeds in college football, I had Notre Dame at number 1. I had Georgia at number 2, Miami number 3, Oregon at number 4.
So we have the same top 4, just in different order.
Yep, and then my bracket as it plays out for your first round, you would get Hawaii at Texas Tech, my group representative, the Rainbow Warriors. Indiana at Alabama. That would be a lot of fun if you got that. Clemson makes it in on the road against Ohio State. Yes, it is. And then USC at Texas, so a rematch there too. So I have fun playoff matchups here, unlike yours. But my group of 5 would be Hawaii. Texas Tech makes it in from the Big 12. And, yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that these are – you feel pretty confident that these are the teams.
You say mine are not good. There are a couple that aren't great, but there are a couple that would be pretty sick, actually, to see. So my top 4, again, same teams, different order here. Notre Dame 1, Oregon 2, Georgia 3, Miami 4. And then, so yeah, the 12-5 with New Mexico, Texas isn't the sexiest thing I've ever seen on paper.
And I think BYU might get their faces caved in on the road against Ohio State.
BYU, Ohio State in the 10-7, not ideal. But LSU, Indiana? USC, Texas Tech? You don't think those could be fun, spicy games in the CFP first round? Let's go.
Yeah, those would be fun. Those would be good. All 4 of mine are bangers now.
Are you surprised I didn't end up putting Penn State in here? I went with USC.
I mean, it was going to be BYU or Penn State. I knew it was going to be one of those two.
Yeah, I had to get one of them in there.
I figured that was going to be the case.
BYU, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you. So we have these projections. Of these to make the college football playoff bets, which of them would you make? Is it still the New Mexico play?
I just think numbers-wise from the group of 5, it doesn't make sense that they're 20-1 when everyone else in that wheelhouse that is a projected contender is 10-1 or lighter.
Sure.
So, yeah, I like that value. I do think, like, Boise State is the most likely team to be in that position at the end of the year. USC is one, though, that I think is pretty sneaky, and I think they very easily could be that next team in the Big Ten to catapult things and take that next step with Jaden Maiava and Lincoln Riley finally get in. USC
to make the playoff in the range of like plus 240, and the reason why I asked too is notable, at least I guess for mine, is I did not have LSU in. They're minus 205 to miss the playoff. Yes, plus 160 to make. So I was going to ask if that was one you would look at.
I don't think that's enough. Like, I would want a better number on LSU given the schedule that they have to face. Again, our college football betting guide. We've been talking so much about the NFL betting guide today, but the college football betting guide out next Monday as well. You did a great job writing up the Mountain West and the SEC. I went into that exercise thinking that I was going to have maybe 3 bets. I ended up putting in 7, so we will break down all of that on Monday as the guide is revealed. But vsin.com/subscribe to become a VSiN full-time subscriber. That will get you access to the guides as well for free. We got to step aside here on Money Moves. More coming up next on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Got to put a bow on something in college football before we move on to Major League Baseball. JVT, Stormy Buonantony. You know who it is. All right. So you have pushed for this. I will give you credit. I even told you in the parking garage you didn't have to, but you have pushed to get this Barry's wager settled. We are going to Barry's on Monday night to have this debt paid off, correct?
Yes.
And our wager was from, I have won now 2 straight Stanley Cup show bets.
So awful.
Even though it is your sport, even though I just found out a couple of weeks ago what a puck is.
Even though you just found out what icing is.
Yep, all that kind of stuff. I think they're called green liners, if I remember correctly.
You're the
worst. But you are down 2-0, so the payment is you get to take me to Barry's.
Can we just say I have won other show bets? There's just not been anything on the line.
There's no record of that.
Yes, it is. We have it in doc.
I mean, one of them is still up for debate.
You're ridiculous.
I mean, we have no official ruling.
Dylan Raiola is not better than Avery Johnson.
Our bet was last year, yeah, who had a better season. But the problem was, this is your fault. I pushed for specific statistical parameters to judge by who had the better season.
You pushed, yet never came up with any, nor did you present them. Then when I gave my argument as to why Avery Johnson was better, said, but there's nothing, there's no way.
Then it's just up for subjective analysis, and there's nothing to prove. So that's your fault at the end of the day.
You sound like a sore loser, and it's fine. Anyways, yes, I will be taking you to Barry's on Monday.
So I bring this up because it has been offered to us. I've mocked you for many different things, but one of the things that I've mocked you for in recent days has been your love for the Lobos of New Mexico and their ability to make it into the CFP. You'll be saying woof a lot when you watch them this year because I don't think they're going to be as good as many people think they're going to be, which leads us to Derek's tweet. Stormy Buonantony, side bet that New Mexico does not make the college football playoffs with JVT. Now, you are stepping out on a limb because here's the thing. This is what I hate when it comes to bets, and I'll invoke friend of the show, David Behrman. If you remember, I think it was last year. It might have been the year before when I was with Tim. But David, it was actually, I think, the year before it was because David came on full chest, mocked my Indianapolis Colts because he thought, there's no way that the Colts will finish above the standings for the Miami Dolphins. And I said, whoa, hold your horses. I'll bet you $100 right now that happens. He's like, well, actually the odds would be no. You make the bet. You stand by your words.
Okay.
You're standing out on a limb, though, and saying New Mexico is going to make it. So it will not be a 1-to-1 bet. So what I have offered to you is if New Mexico makes the playoff, I will take you to Barry's. And if New Mexico does not make the playoff, is by McDonald's.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
All right, spit.
Do you? I prefer like the
blood,
cut your hand for blood. Yeah. Yes. The thing, and I appreciate you saying it that way because yes, the thing is, it's not like I'm like, oh guys, New Mexico is absolutely the best team and they're going to make the college football playoff.
I think she said that many times.
They're a 20-1 shot for a reason.
I think the CFP bracket that you submitted for the guide, it's Penn State versus New Mexico in the national championship.
You're ridiculous. Absolutely not. But I think that they are being overlooked in the market at this price, and I like what Jason Eck is bringing back, and this is a team that far exceeded expectations a year ago. Why can't they build on it again with all of the returning production they have? That's the thought process here. So Do
you agree to the bet terms?
Yes, I agree to the terms. I will get you McDonald's if New Mexico doesn't make the playoff.
Or some sort of cheap fast food. It doesn't have to exactly be the Golden Arches.
Do you have a team, though, that's would it be the same? Do you want to do a vice versa for Hawaii?
But you don't feel as strongly opposed to my love for Hawaii as I do for your love for New Mexico.
I like Hawaii. I don't think they're a college football playoff team. But
I think a lot of people are going to be wrong about New Mexico this year.
Okay.
Yeah. So, my
I didn't think that many people were that high on New Mexico. I don't know a lot of people that are making the argument that I'm making here.
I'm saying that from the perspective of the way they're being priced. Like co-favorite to win the Mountain West, right? Win total, all of those sort of things. I believe the betting market is incorrect in the way they're pricing them.
But is that not crazy that UNLV's 10-1 and New Mexico's 20-1 at the same book?
No, I mean, I think you're right in the sense of, arguable co-favorites to win the same conference, to have that discrepancy in CFP pricing. I think the argument would be, would New Mexico's path as a Mountain West champion, with that resume, would it be on par with what UNLV has? UNLV's non-conference schedule is a little bit better, so thus, if they go undefeated or have one loss, still win the Mountain West, they would have a higher probability to make it into the college football playoff based on their resume as opposed to what New Mexico would have. So I think there's probably there's supposed to be some pricing discrepancy there, but I would agree with your overall premise that, if there's a mispricing here, I think it's this. They have a higher chance.
And I know it's a different UNLV team, but New Mexico did beat UNLV in Vegas last year. They beat Air Force in Colorado last year. I
think we agree on a very basic premise, which is just I think the top of the Mountain West, I think all these teams are pretty close to one another.
Sure.
I think the market is incorrect in having this like UNLV, New Mexico, North Dakota State, and then the rest of the. I wouldn't be surprised if Air Force, Hawaii, New Mexico, North Dakota State, or UNLV were to win the conference.
Up for grabs.
Yeah.
Okay, last couple minutes here. Let's go to Major League Baseball because I know you had a lot of stuff you wanted to talk about. So lead the way here.
Well, we're teammates and we have our disagreements as we just had, but generally we approach them in a very valid way. And sometimes when you have disagreements, you ever have a fight with your husband and you realize that you're wrong? How do you handle it?
I mean, no,
okay,
but
correct. That's the perfect response that I wanted. Because yesterday we watched the Red Sox rally late to grab a 5-4 win over the Athletics in Sacramento. They're 11-3 in the second half. Boston is 28-8 in their last 36 games. I think I did that math right. A lot of success going around. Probably no reason to gripe or moan unless you're Jarren Duran, who is not in the midst of a strong series, in the midst of a strong season. So how about this from yesterday? Odd moment at the top of the sixth. Duran's at the plate. Runners on second and third, one out. He has a shallow pop-up to left. Contreras is on third base. He doesn't tag up because he's going to get absolutely thrown out at home. You just watched it.
Yeah.
You saw how shallow the pop-out was, by the way. I believe it was Langoliers in third, or excuse me, out in the outfield, too, that has a pretty strong arm. So Duran comes off, and he's seen yelling at Contreras from the dugout about why he didn't run, or yelling at their third base coach for not sending him. And then you get after the game, asked about it. Duran was asked, what's going on? Here was his answer.
That's nothing. It's something that within the team that we have that we work on, and it's nothing. Like, you guys don't need to know. Nobody needs to know. That's something between us and the team that we know it's about. So that doesn't really matter.
Were you frustrated with yourself?
Yeah, I suck. Of course I'm pissed at myself. I can't even do a job for this team.
Yeah, my man went 2 of 12 in that series against the Athletics. Drove in nothing, had 1 run scored, 4 strikeouts, didn't walk. He's hitting 195 on the season. He's striking out 30% of the time. Hasn't really gone well. My guy, your team's 28-8 in the last 36 games. You're playing well in the midst of a late rally against the Athletics, too. If anybody's on the chopping block, it might be you if they go out and get some more bats. So maybe calm down about these sort of things. And I just want to point this out because this is a team I think that needs more help on offense. I think he's kind of a little bit of a representation of that. But also, we've seen guys derail seasons at times. I don't know if Duran's going to be that. But to be playing this well and for that to occur, you got to chill out a little bit here, considering what's going on with this team. And you even saw it on Contreras' face, both on base and when he got back to the dugout, kind of gave one of those, like, dude, I don't know what you're yelling about.
Yeah.
Go sit back down, man. And
what did I say to you after I watched the video? I said, okay, you're a baby. Like, what are we doing? Also, did just want to follow up. Shea Langoliers, he's done for the season. Tore his meniscus, has to have surgery. So that did come down, I think, yesterday.
Yeah.
But
did I say Langoliers out now? Yeah. But you're correct either way.
But he was somebody, too, that, as we approached the trade deadline, was being talked about a ton as a potential trade candidate. And now, obviously, that's getting shut down for the year, derails that plan. As far as some of this other trade deadline stuff, what did you think when you saw the Twins were buyers here this week?
Isn't this nuts? So the Twins go out and they start buying here at the deadline, and they go and get AJ Minter from the Mets. And this opens up to what we've talked about here with Mike Palm, which is there are so many teams now in this hemisphere of the playoff chase in the American League where there's no real overtly threatening group. If you're the Twins, why not? You walked off the Royals yesterday within 3 games of the division lead. You're 1 game from the last AL wildcard spot. You go and buy low on Minter for the most part. They're 26th in bullpen ERA. They're 22nd in bullpen expected ERA, 24th in FIP. So why not go and get this done? You ship off 2 of your top 30 prospects, but we're talking about 21st and 29th. So it's not like you're really digging in deep to the prospects. So, yeah, I kind of like this. I'm in on these teams that are on the fringes of playoff races. And if you buy in, by the way, maybe they're not done buying. Yes is plus 210. No is minus 260 on them to make the playoffs. But this is what I'm talking about when we mentioned this yesterday. And we've talked to some of our guests about this, too. We hit it with Palm. Go out if you have a chance and go buy.
Yeah.
Because you can win a series, you can get into an ALCS or an NLCS, but especially in an American League that does not look daunting at all, why not go ahead and give it a shot?
The Yankees, Red Sox, and Guardians in those wild card spots right now in the American League, but you've got 4 more teams that are 3 games back or fewer 5 that are 6-back or fewer. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, the American League is very, very interesting. I know coming up in the next segment, we had a little bit of sound that we wanted to play college football-wise. But when we get to that, are there any more baseball games today that you would like to preview that you've got?
I think for sure
thoughts on?
Pirates and Reds is going to be pretty interesting. Hunter Green is going to get the start for the Cincinnati Reds. Could it be his last start in a Reds uniform? He's been one of these guys that you can maybe we'll call it buy low on, because he got out on the field at the beginning of July, has not pitched particularly well, coming off of 6 earned runs allowed on the road against St. Louis. We saw this on the overnight open up like minus 125 in favor of Pittsburgh. Here at Circa, we're floating around that price, still minus 121, so a little bit of buy-in on Green. And you can see why, right? Last start was not good, but it's just his 5th start of the season. You've got some candidates for regression. He's one of them, 345 BABIP. Left on base rate has been pretty high too. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but really got to get into Skeens as well, because he just continues to do this dominant stretch, then a really poor one, and then a dominant stretch. Can't really figure it out.
Yeah, you look at the numbers like, is that a cheap price on them with Paul Skeens on the hill? Well, depending on what you think about how Paul Skeens is this year. We got to step aside. We're wrapping things up, though. More Major League Baseball when we come, and Curt Cignetti had a lot to say at Big Ten Media Days yesterday.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is it. Today, your last day to lock in the early bird pricing on our football season special. $175 through the Super Bowl, but it's coming to an end because tomorrow that price is bumping up to $199. With preseason football just around the corner, you can get instant access to our NFL betting guide if you join today. Futures, win totals, division races, and player props. On Monday as well, we're breaking out our college football betting guide that previews all 138 teams, preseason power ratings, and best bets from your favorite VSiN show hosts and guests. You'll also get the Fantasy Life Fantasy Football Guide with over 422 different player profiles, projections, and rankings. Come join us today, vsin.com/subscribe. Unlimited access to everything we do here at the network. And again, those guides that are more valuable than ever. vsin.com/subscribe. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. We got a couple of tweets chiming in as well. Want to shout out Dusty, who said, "Happy Friday from the San Diego Zoo." Send us a picture of a giraffe. He is listening to us while on dad duty around the zoo out there in SD. Love that. And then a couple people chiming in about the fit today for you as requested. Listener Lance said, "Just turned on Money Moves. Just roll up the sleeves, JVT, and go full Miami Vice." So there you go. And we actually had another person that asked earlier, if you're Crockett, does that make me Tubbs? And
to which my response was, who are those people?
Well, it's Don Johnson. It's the Miami Vice people.
Yeah, he responded. I did not know who that was. It's the response to the outfit, I guess. I think of, this is going to sound terrible, I think of fat people when I hear the names Crockett and Tubbs.
Tubbs definitely more than Crockett, I would say.
Really? This just sounds like you should be
Tubbs
fat.
Tubbs means like tubby, right?
Yeah.
Like,
no, for sure. I mean, that's 100%, yes. But the other ones too.
I prefer to say I haven't missed many meals. That said, let's get back to a little Major League Baseball as we close things out here, because we got a ton of games coming up later on. Obviously,
what's the worst part about being a giraffe
right now? The fact that it takes 11 minutes to throw up.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
It does. Like, I can't imagine.
Also,
that is true, by the way. Look it up.
Having a lot of time to think about your mistakes when sinking in quicksand. It's a lot of one too. It's a good one.
Baseball, what do you have today?
You just want to be off camera so you can wipe more boogers off your face.
I am sick. Leave me alone.
Yes, all right. I'm going to bet the Pirates here today. But you can lay like $140 in the first 5. I'll buy in on Paul Skeens to maybe bounce back. But to give some more weight to what we talked about here with Skeens and the on again, off again nature of his play. He's kind of been all over the place, right? Last start for him against Chicago, he gives a 5 earned runs over the course of 5 1/3, strikes out 11, but walks 2. And continues to kind of string these things together. So look at from July 7th to July 19th, he starts 3 games, 18 1/3, 5 total earned runs, an ERA of 2.45, 19 strikeouts to 4 walks. But then the start against Chicago happens. Prior to that, 7/7 to July 19th, or excuse me, I have those dates mixed up, but the starts prior to Chicago, I should say, 7 earned runs over the course of these innings. Like, he has been all over the place. It was the Philly game on the first in which he absolutely got destroyed. He's put together bad start, awesome stretch. Bad start, awesome stretch. It might seem simplistic to just say, all right, he's coming off a bad start. Let's get into the awesome stretch. But you're also taking on Cincinnati, 30th in weighted runs created plus, 30th in strikeout rate, 30th in batting average. He's got some pretty hefty numbers today. Justin, could you get in my ear? What's Skeens to lead today in strikeouts? Because I did not like the 550. I wouldn't say no to that. Yeah, because 7.5 strikeouts, the prop shaded over -150. You get a Reds lineup that's got a penchant for striking out. He's coming off of a bad start. History this season would tell us that he's bounced back nicely from these starts. So I'm going to trust that he gets it done in the first 5, but I also wouldn't say no to playing strikeout leader for the day or including him amongst some of the pitchers that you're going to use here too. So we're going to go Skeens-centric. Again, first 5 money line play on Pittsburgh. And I'll just point out one more, if I could, before you get to your starts, or excuse me, to your videos. Big series for the Texas Rangers taking on the Houston Astros. Obviously, as we know, we've talked about this big Rangers guy. We've got him to win the American League West and the American League from preseason. Eovaldi's going to get the start. 4.05 ERA, 3.93 expected, 4.17 FIP on the season. Last start, shockingly enough, you, me, your mother, and everybody else putting together a good start against the Seattle Mariners. Eovaldi amongst them. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 1 earned against the Mariners last time out. He had allowed 3+ earned runs in the previous 4 starts, 3+ in 7 of his last 9. But he's pitched slightly better away from home. 72 1/3 innings pitched, 3.98 ERA. Hoping he can get this done. And Brown's in an interesting stretch, too. Last start, struck out 7. Didn't give up an earned run against the Chicago White Sox. But the 3 previous outings for Hunter Brown, 14 2/3 Stormy, an ERA of 7.98 and expected a 6.81. And how about this? 11 strikeouts to 15 walks for Hunter Brown prior to that last start. He'd allowed 3 homers. I think you know that you can get better out of Brown, but really pulling for the Texas Rangers after a tough series with the Tampa Bay Rays this week.
Beautiful. Lock it in. Last couple minutes, I do want to go back to a little college football. We've been pretty heavy Big Ten this week, rightfully so, with Big Ten Media Days going on out there in Chicago. And Curt Cignetti yesterday just shooting from the hip after all of the SEC talk a week ago. And who's the real best conference? Here's Cignetti.
The Big Ten is the best league in football, and a lot of really good football teams. It's hard to win on the road. Very physical football teams, very well coached. It definitely prepares you for the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. The numbers speak for themselves. I mean, we don't run a hype machine up here in the Midwest. We believe everything's earned, not given. And when we fall short, we say we fell short. We don't cry a river, whine, and complain. All right? And that's why we're the best.
I love this guy so much. Get a microphone in front of him at all times. I saw him do another side interview yesterday as well with a reporter that he brought up, you have a target on your back. What do you tell your teams? And got a target on our back, just bring a bigger gun. Love it.
So I got to say, this dynamic has been at play for these last couple of weeks. And I saw that I think you liked one of my tweets from yesterday, too, because I'll pull up who it was. But there's this thought of like, hey, the Big Ten just won't stop talking about the SEC. It was Robert Behrens, who does a good job covering college football, but he had retweeted the stupid Mad Men gif of like, I feel bad for you, and then the Don Draper dude, I've never watched the show, saying, I don't think about you at all.
It's good. It's a really good show.
But it's in the context of the Big Ten and the SEC saying they don't think about him at all. I don't know about you, but like I watched a lot of those SEC Media Day press conferences and coverage from SEC Network. The whole topic was getting back to national prominence, and the fact that the Big Ten had taken 3 straight national championships. It was like the entire premise of the conversation. And I got to say, are you tight with Laura Rutledge?
Not tight, but I do know her.
Did you see this the other day?
Yeah, with her saying
we got to admit, like, okay, I say stupid stuff all the time. Not necessarily that this was stupid. She did step in it. She misspoke. Because her whole premise, I'll read the quote, the competition within the SEC is so difficult that 9 games of craziness week in and week out, a little different than other parts, other conferences. Furthermore, they're gassed. She's speaking that in present context, as if that has been the reason why maybe they haven't won.
This is the first year of the 9-game schedule for the SEC.
And she tried to say, like, that's not what I said. No, that is what you said. Maybe you could say you misspoke. But the SEC this entire, 2 weeks has been all about just the national prominence, the whining and complaining about the playoff teams. We want to separate, all these sort of things. No, man, all you've been doing is whining about this stuff. The Big Ten's got your number the last 3 years. Who cares?
And I'll say I do agree with the concept that the SEC has the more depth of the 2 conferences, but it's not like the Big Ten has a bunch of schlubs either beyond 1, 2, 3. There are a lot of teams that we've talked about this week as potential contention in making the college football playoff this year. So I don't know. I think that the Big Ten and Curt Cignetti, quite frankly, are right in what they're saying, and the way SEC, come back and win another national championship, and then you can reestablish yourself. But this is what you are right now. I do want to play this clip real quickly, also from Cignetti, talking about Josh Hoover, because I thought it would be really interesting from your perspective about comparing he and Fernando Mendoza.
They both played quarterback. They were both starting quarterbacks where they came from. Josh Hoover's won a lot of football games, thrown for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdown passes. He has an innate ability to play the position of quarterback, kind of a natural passer, very accurate, processes very quickly. I think, the things we'll ask him to do are different than the things TCU asked him to do. We're not going to put the ball in his hand and say, go out and win the game and outscore people. We're going to give him a run game, a defense, and special teams, and every once in a while on third down, a punt's a positive play. The thing I'll say about Fernando only is from a preparation standpoint, he did everything within the realm of possibility to become the best he could be. And I think what separated Fernando was when the game was on the line, those fourth quarter wins, the last 4 minutes, that's when he played his best football. He was a tremendous competitor. So I'm really anxious to see Josh and the progress he's made in practice starting on Wednesday in fall camp. All the one-year quarterbacks have followed the same line, and I expect him to as well.
So I'm higher on Hoover than you are, but that felt like a little bit of an indictment on Josh Hoover.
Indictment? I thought it was a shot at Sonny Dykes. We're going to give him a defense. We're going to give him special teams. We're not going to ask him to win the game.
Well, it's their offense is very different. It's going to be much more run heavy than it was
Headline
at TCU.
Curt Cignetti says Sonny Dykes sucks.
But no, the fact that his first thing was, can you tell these similarities and differences? And he's like, well, he's a quarterback. Like,
right.
I didn't love the start of just how that went from the beginning.
Buyer's remorse. I think he sees it.
No,
I think he knows.
come on.
I think he knows what's going on here. It's over.
I think he's going to be very good again. And I saw a number of other interviews where Cignetti was talking about like the success he's had with day one quarterbacks when they come in, and he's not wrong. So can Josh Hoover be the next in that line? We'll see if he can reel in the interceptions for sure. A lot of the people I saw quote tweeting that were like, just wait until he throws 3 picks.
Speaking of reeling it in, reel this in.
Reel what in?
This whole sickness thing.
I'm trying.
You got until Monday.
I blame your children.
You got until Monday.
Yeah, I'm sad. I told you I have friends coming in town. They're staying with us this weekend, and I get sick the day before they arrive. I don't know what's happening. So prayers up for your girl. Have a great weekend. We'll be back Monday, God willing. Same time, same place.